Hi, this is Anna Bevan Gravely with NCFREE, and I am joined by Judge Fred Gore, who is running for Court of Appeals. So, Judge Gore, is there anything you'd like to share with our members before we get started?
I'm just thankful for the opportunity, being a district court judge in Southeastern North Carolina. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to bring some good values from the southeastern part of the state, east of 95 to Raleigh. So looking forward to sharing some responses with your listeners.
Awesome, fabulous. So let's just dive right in. Which one of the current or recent U.S. Supreme Court justices best reflects your judicial philosophy?
As it pertains, obviously, there's different areas of law, and as the kind of the business and the economic piece of it, I would say Justice Scalia. Rest his soul. He was one that didn't parse his words, and I try to be a concise jurist when it comes to opinion writing. Because the law is still for the people, and so we can be artful with it as much as we want to, but sometimes we get too deep to where the public doesn't have a full appreciation for what we have done to identify what thus the law says. But Justice Scalia was kind of a purist and a constitutionalist when it comes to his discussions on business and economics. He believed that economics were rooted, individual economics were rooted within some of the fundamental rights of our Constitution, which are also part of the principles of a free enterprise market. And he wrote opinions from that kind of standpoint of saying that a free enterprise market has basic fundamental rights that are rooted within individuals' right and privacy to contract and to express their economic liberties based upon the Constitution. And he was very strict to his construction of opinions that were related to that. So I would say him. He I think was the last time he kind of given a public speech on it was around 2015 or 2013, where he really laid out his beliefs of free enterprise being rooted within the individual liberties of contracting and business, and rights for liberty and profit to be able to have a legal argument. So I'd say Justice Scalia.
Awesome. So would you mind going into a little more detail about your own judicial philosophy?
My philosophy is one of based upon fairness and objectivity. I follow the Constitution. I do not believe in legislating from the bench. We have independent levels of government that are responsible for that. So I would consider myself a constitutionalist, and I believe in being able to straightly construe the law. I have friends in the legislature, and I think that's where they should stay. And it's for judges to interpret the law, and then specifically appellate judges to identify where the law has went left of where it should or right of where it should. So I just use a sports reference. I believe in the law staying within bounds, and when the law gets outside of the bounds of what the law says, and that's where we should reel it back in and have limited government overreach as far as it pertains to saying what the law says.
Yeah. What would you say the key principles of free enterprise are?
Well, I'm kind of unique from a standpoint of some judges. I have a business degree from UNC Charlotte. I worked in private marketing, within the world. I worked for Nike for about 9 months after finishing my academic achievements. And then I worked at UNC Charlotte Athletics, and then I went into private marketing for NASCAR for about a year or so before going to law school. So I understand how the judicial system can negatively impact free enterprise, but also understand how it can positively impact. There are some ways that it positively impact to make sure that business is good, making sure that crime rates are down and things of that nature can stimulate industries and markets such as real estate, making sure that crime is low in areas. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I believe in a free market society to make sure that we have the ability to contract freely and operate freely as consumers with businesses. I believe there should be limited government oversight. And really, the examples that I see where it should be allowed. Because I'm in the military as well. I'm in the reserves. I've been doing it for 20 years. In instances of, national disasters, of, 9/11s or for COVID, obviously there's times where, the government should get involved in market affairs and for cap. Some people argue, and this is a debate where you sit in classroom with people to talk about. Some people say that free enterprise in the theory is purest form of capitalism. And so there is a version of capitalism that I think should stay within its lane to allow free enterprise to matriculate and allow the market to stimulate itself, and consumers and businesses to impact it. But to be there to make sure that we have oversight only to make sure our market and our economy does not fail. And I say that because from a national security standpoint, and unlike any other judge for this seat, I have the ability to have that insight of how our country is safer when we have, free flowing markets, but the ability to have security blanket of government. And that's the only time I think we should have really significant government impact on capitalism to make sure, because if our economy crashes, that's when we have national security issues from China, from Russia, from other countries that can come in and really kind of dismantle our economy.
Yeah. So when you were in law school and undergrad, what sorts of activities and jobs and volunteer work did you take part in?
Well, I was a member of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. That's one of the oldest African American fraternities. We did a lot of volunteer work at a lot of our younger schools that were in the Charlotte area. I went to Charlotte, UNC Charlotte undergrad. So I volunteer a lot, but unlike a lot of my college friends that had a lot of free time, I was in the National Guard at the time. So 1 weekend to 2 weekends out of each month. And then, 2 weeks, sometimes more in the summer, I had military obligation. And I used that to help offset my financial burden for college. And so I couldn't forsake that responsibility. But at a certain time, it came to where it was a way of life to be able to wear my uniform and make sure that I was fulfilling that obligation, because the sense of pride and responsibility that it instilled in me and the structure, it made me a better person. It made me a better student, made me a better citizen. And I believe that those experiences really allowed me to be an asset to our classrooms, and to make sure that we were, having a well-rounded experience in the classroom based upon my experience.
Yeah, yeah.
And that also, at law school, I actually got an award from my law school because I was able to turn my volunteer activity in law school into really a great experience, because I volunteered with the local high school football team. So one of the principles of Appalachian School of Law, which is where I graduated law school, was to stimulate and help the local economy, because there was a coal mining industry that had collapsed in Southwest Appalachia, which is where the school is located. And so the school required all 1Ls to actually participate and volunteer for a certain number of hours. Well, I didn't stop after my first year. I continued and actually volunteered all 3 years. And with the football team, local high school football team, and I became the wide receiver coach and worked specifically with the offensive coordinator, because I played high school football, won a state championship, in 1992. And so I have a love for football, and it was a natural fit. It was the diversity was kind of not really there in the community. So to be able to have some cultural experiences with some of the children there, and be able to help them learn how big of a world it was outside of their local parts of Southwest Appalachia was a great experience. And so I didn't stop after the mandatory time. I continued and ended up doing over 300 hours of community service during my law school experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure that those kids are very grateful for your involvement.
Well, the coaching staff was appreciative too, because they got some free coaching didn't have to pay me. So outside a little bit of Gatorade to stay hydrated. So I just loved it. I love teaching and working with kids. So I was impacted by good mentors and leaders in my childhood growing up and outside of my family. So I felt I feel a sense of making sure I get back.
Yeah. So what would you say is your greatest accomplishment in your legal career and then in your personal life?
Um, Twofold in my professional life. First off is becoming a member of the U.S. Army JAG Corps.
Hmm.
I was able to become commissioned in 2008 after serving as an enlisted soldier. I was an infantryman. I was combo sergeant. I was a fuel handler, so I've done a lot of jobs. But after completion and getting licensed in the state of North Carolina, I submitted my commissioning application for the North Carolina National Guard at the time and became a commissioned JAG officer. And that sense of pride of and culmination of everything I had done thus far in my military career to, commission from the enlisted ranks to an officer was something that I'll never forget. And the support of other enlisted soldiers who might not have the opportunity to ascend to the officer rank, they still uplift me and they still encourage me because there's some really good, soldiers that I would not be where I am today if they had not impacted my career. So that was a very key part of my professional career. But in the civilian world, when I became a district court judge in 2014, I was the first Black male judge ever elected to serve in any judicial capacity in my district. And to be able to look at young people, regardless of race, young, Black, white, and specifically my children, to tell them that Daddy is a part of Black History Month, part of the history of my district, and to be able to blaze a trail and continue to encourage young people never to settle. It's a humbling opportunity, and something that I really feel was a key piece of my professional career that keeps me motivated, because now I can't settle, and obviously that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm running for North Carolina Court of Appeals seat 5. I can't settle because the children that are looking at me are saying, well, hey, you did that. Now I want to encourage them. You don't stop there after you accomplish one thing. And so that is kind of the twofold part of my professional. But personally, I'm going to say being a dad. I don't know how I would conduct myself in life if I didn't have my twin boys. I have twin 11-year-old little boys that they have sickle cell, which is a blood disorder. And so from about 3 months old, they have had some difficulties that has been really trying and taxing. It's required, week-long hospital stays, surgeries, and blood transfusions and all kind of things. And God has blessed us to make it to 11 years old. And they're rising sixth graders, and they ground me. They help me be a better man. They help me be a better husband. They give me a sense of just being humble, because they look at me through this lens of just pureness, that I can achieve anything, and they want me to achieve anything. But before I came in here, I had explained to them why Daddy was not going to be free this afternoon to do some things. And one of them just he put his hands in there, he gave me a high five. He said, Daddy, do good. And so how can you not be motivated to knock down brick walls and accomplish anything by being a dad for little boys that want to uplift you and encourage you? So it keeps me humbled, it keeps me grounded, and I'm a better person by being a dad to those little boys, because they definitely and they don't hold any punches. I'm 45, and so things are getting a little thin at the very top. So whenever they come and come up behind my recliner, and rub me at the top of the head, and they say, Daddy, why is it missing? I'm like, son, just life. So, just give me
Oh,
something.
oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I feel super motivated by all of what you just shared. So thank you very much. And this next question is one of the questions I really look forward to asking, because I think it's just a really interesting question, specifically in this time. But what do you think the future of the judiciary is? What changes would you advocate for, and why?
I think the future is more technology. I am the assigned juvenile court judge for all 3 counties of Brunswick, Bladen, and Columbus counties. A lot of our judges across the state have benefited from not having to go to court for a little while. I've been going to court on my computer since March. So we had a little bit of a couple of weeks where we were trying to figure it out. But the constitutional rights of parents and the protections for our children are such that I did not want to rest on our laurels of trying to wait. And by working with stakeholders in my district, we were able to get up and going on WebEx. So we have had parents who have been able to have their cases heard since March and really have their rights protected, and children to allow the day in court for children if they were abused, neglected, or dependent to keep going and to keep those protections flowing. And so finding a way to improve our digital footprint and our technological footprint for our judicial system is important, as individuals are frequently moving or moving around. It shouldn't deprive them of their ability to have their day in court. So I think greater access through technology is something that I think is the future. There's basically, an example of what we've been doing to go by. And I think we just have to work out the legalese piece of it and to make sure, because obviously, for an example of someone that supports your foundation, they shouldn't have a delay in being able to litigate the contract dispute, or whether it's an Article 9 or formation issue with corporation. If they can all agree, depositions can be done virtually, all these things. Outside of some of the evidentiary issues, we still can allow individuals to have their day in court and not slow down. One of the things I would advocate for is, more training for our judges to make sure individuals feel that our judiciary is the best in the state, best in the world. Our judicial system is the best in the world. I'll put our system of justice and legal disputes up against anyone in the world. And I've had Iraq and Afghanistan and Kuwait as well, being able to see some of the other judicial systems of foreign countries. And so our democracy allows that, it mandates that, it requires that. And so making sure that our judges are continuing to train would build confidence in litigants, and to make sure that the transparency of our system is above reproach. And so I would advocate for that, to make sure no one is able to challenge the veracity and the confidence in our judicial system.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed getting to learn more about you and hear a little bit more about your heart for the law. And so before we close out our time, where can our members go to learn more about you?
Well, they can go to judgefredgore.com, Facebook at Judge Fred Gore, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Judge Fred Gore. I want everybody to understand that I'm a common sense judge that believes in following the Constitution, using common sense and applying the law, and just being really, truly, an overall just common sense judge that wants everybody to understand that children and our families are one of our most precious resources in this state. And I work every day, and I will work every day as a court of appeal judge to make sure they're protected, along with everyone's right to be able to get access to our court system. I'm from Southeastern North Carolina. There's not a candidate of any of the seats, of any of the 8 seats that are running, that is from Southeastern North Carolina. Sometimes there's that debate of interest east of 95 or rural North Carolina, but I think that lends an aspect of folks to understand that just a good common sense judge that's going to apply the law and follow the Constitution is what I come from. And I have all that information on my website and my social media. Ask people to share it and like it, and go to it. If you have any questions, you can follow up and send me an email. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and good luck on the campaign trail.
I appreciate it, Anna, and just let everybody know to please be safe. Being in Southeastern North Carolina, we're kind of in the path of the storm that's coming. So sometimes some of the smaller storms can sneak up on folks because they take it a little lightly. So please ask everybody to be safe, and anybody kind of traveling down this way, please be safe and just take all precautions. We appreciate the support.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.